What's up, everybody? You know, there may not be a better way to catch bass than on the top water, than on a frog. I mean, this frog right here can produce some of the most incredible fish catches and catch absolutely big ones, especially right now this time of the year. But you gotta make sure you have the right setup. And, you know, to the contrary of what you might think or you've been told, you don't need a giant rod to catch a fish on a frog. You just don't need to. And I'm gonna share with you a little tip or exactly what my setup is and what I consider to be the absolute perfect rod setup. The number one thing for me in frog fishing, and you all know where I'm coming from here, especially with any bait that you need cadence with, is fatigue. Is if you're fishing with a rod that's too big, you know, you're fishing with a 7-10, 7-11 rod. I mean, if you're walking the dog and you're really working a frog pretty hard, I mean, your forearms start getting tired. And after 10 minutes or so, man, it gets tiring. So you need to make sure that the rod you choose is extremely lightweight, which produces less fatigue when you're working this frog. So guys, I mean, I hear people saying I throw a 7-foot 11-inch extra heavy on a frog. Guys, that'll wear you out. It really will, and it would wear me out. I mean, within 5 minutes, I'd be tired of throwing it, and I'd be trying to pick something else up. So my choice, of course, is this right here, is that Legend Extreme by St. Croix Rods. A lot of you guys saw we released it at the Classic this year, but until you actually put this particular rod in your hand, you won't really know what I'm talking about. This thing is incredibly lightweight. This is probably the lightest weight rod I've ever put in my hands, and it is absolutely perfect for frog fishing because I have almost zero fatigue when I'm throwing this thing. It's almost like I'm just not holding anything. It's so light, it's so compact, and so well balanced. But you need to make sure that you have a rod that is not real bulky at the handle. You don't have an extremely long handle on it, and it's not real heavyweight because you're just gonna simply wear yourself out. Make sure you can throw this thing without getting fatigued. That way you can make more casts with it, because let's face it, you start getting fatigued with a frog, you wanna pick something else up. This rod right here absolutely takes the fatigue out of it. I can throw this thing all day long and never get fatigued. So whether it's this rod or another one that you're using, lightweight, guys. And guys, you don't have to throw a long rod. This right here, this Legend Extreme right here is a 7-foot 1-inch medium heavy with an extra fast tip. Guys, medium heavy. I'm not throwing a big broomstick, a big heavy, an extra heavy action rod for a frog, because I throw it with either 50 or 65 pound braid. 50, 65 pound braid, guys, you do not have to worry about getting a hook in them. You have plenty enough power in this rod, plenty enough length. Guys, I'm only 5'9", so I don't need a rod that's 7-foot 11 inches. And if you're not 6'4" or 6'5", you don't need one that big. And if I go up to, like, let's say a 7'4" in the Legend Extreme, it's gonna be too big for me. It's too long, it's gonna cause more fatigue. You know, it's all about leverage. Like I said, I'm only 5'9", so I don't need that giant 7-11-inch rod, and you probably don't either. You're gonna find if you downsize that a little bit, you'll actually get less fatigue. You'll be able to throw this thing a heck of a lot longer. Absolutely no problems with hookup ratio, putting them in the boat with this setup. But guys, number one key is make sure you put a rod in your hand that you're not getting fatigued with, because you're gonna be able to throw it more. You're not gonna wanna put it down, and you're gonna put more fish in the boat, guys, I guarantee you. So braid, absolute must on a frog. Gear ratio on a reel. Make sure you're doing, I think this one here is a 7:3 to 1 gear ratio. Make sure you're doing, you know, a 7:3 gear ratio, and even faster than that. You know, you want to be able to take up slack. You never want to give that slack once you put the hook in them, and you want to be able to take up that line as quick as absolute possible and get them in the boat. But that is a fantastic setup right there. Might be the best I've ever put in my hand, especially for this spro popping frog right here, because this thing will work you if you're working this thing a lot, and especially throughout the day. You know, you get on one of these rainy days where you really want to pick this thing up and throw it all day long. This setup right here is absolute key. Again, the brand new Legend Extreme by St. Croix rods. This thing is so extremely lightweight, compact, super well balanced. It's got carbon fiber rod eye guides. That's another reason that makes this rod so incredibly light, so well balanced, and so sensitive. But this, you know, this one right here, Legend Extreme, is my go-to and might be the best one that I've ever put in my hands. So remember, get something that's not too big, that's lightweight, that's not gonna fatigue you all day. Throw it on braid, guys. Fast gear ratio, and you can have one heck of a day on the water with this setup right here. Guys, I hope this helps. Get you a pile of these. Make sure you throw in that Legend Extreme, especially on this Spro Frog right here. And I can promise you guys, you're gonna have some fantastic days on the water with this frog. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope this helps. Hope this helps you put more fish in your boat. Later.